There's so many challenges when you become an amputee. It's interesting now you're looking back and rationalising things a year or so after my amputations because it all felt really chaotic at the time. With hindsight, though, I think there's essentially two big challenges. The first one is just acceptance, and second, the fact that nobody gives you an instruction manual when this happens to you. It was such a sudden and fundamental change, and I realised very quickly that it wasn't all about me. My family's lives would be changing fundamentally too. So many things to think about when our minds were pretty scrambled, so much attention from family and friends, very humbling experience, and such a long convalescence. And for me, simply getting my head in order was the first priority. I think it's easy and natural to be angry and to feel sorry for yourself and look backwards at things you imagine you'll never be able to do again. But you simply can't wallow in self-pity. And to be honest, I actually surprised myself how quickly I processed what had happened and accepted the fact that my life would be different. And I was determined to put every effort I had into making the best of the new life rather than lamenting the old one. And then I looked for the instruction manual, and that was a different story. And that's where the Limbless Association can really help. As a new amputee, there's a whole raft of things that you need information about. I mean, some of it's obvious. There's medical stuff. When's this going to heal? Is it supposed to be that colour? Is this pain normal? So on. Then there's practical things like how you're going to move, how do you get out of bed, how does a wheelchair operate, and then the big picture stuff. What happens when I get home? How are we going to manage? Can my home be adapted for my new needs? Am I entitled to help, benefits? Will I be able to get back to work? In all of this, you need to know who to talk to. And I suddenly had so many new people in my life that myself and my family depended on. Everyone from my surgical team, my new GP practice, my wonderful prosthetics team, district nurse teams, people who help me with advice and benefits, patient transport teams, so on, so on. So many brilliant people who are really important to me, but they all solve bits of the puzzle. And there isn't really a single point of contact. Now, I'm a pretty good self-advocate. I'm naturally inquisitive. I'm not afraid to question. But the sheer amount of information and contact channels was almost overwhelming, actually, even especially at a time that you're essentially in a state of shock. I heard about the Limbless Association through my excellent occupational therapist. Due to the COVID restrictions that were in place at the time, we couldn't have multiple amputees in the prosthetics unit at the same time. And she realised very quickly that I was the sort of person who would benefit from first-hand contact with fellow amputees. And hence the volunteer visitor scheme was really good for me. She also realised that I actually just needed somewhere that I could go for information to process for myself in my own time. Well, my volunteer visit took place over Zoom, which isn't as good as a face-to-face meeting, but nevertheless, it is a technology that I'm comfortable with. And it was just really good to see a face behind the voice. The conversation was incredibly helpful. We covered an awful lot of topics, and it was just great to hear firsthand from somebody who, for want of a better cliche, has done that and bought the t-shirt. My volunteer visitor really opened my eyes to the possibilities that are out there to enable amputees to live fulfilling lives, and I came away really feeling quite energized. The visit gave me a real boost. I immediately felt more determined to push myself and get on with learning to walk again instead of accepting life in a wheelchair. And I felt a lot more positive about the potential to do everyday things in the future. My visitor was able to explain how he coped in day-to-day situations like public transport, eating out, going to the theatre, getting to and from work and whatever. And he just gave me a lot of things to aspire to, and I'm pleased to say it did give me a bit of a push, and I'm making really good progress now. Getting some peer support was really great. Speaking directly to somebody who's actually been through an amputation and had to adapt to disabled life, being able to describe pain, emotions, etc., to somebody who's just experienced the same thing was really helpful. And it made me realise that some of the things that I'm worried about are actually quite normal and give me the hope that I will get through it. If you're thinking about contacting the Limbless Association or considering a volunteer visit, I would say just do it. If you need some inspiration or just some practical advice, it's there for you at the end of the phone.